And because Saraswati have two etymologies, right? One is the river connecting Saras, that is lakes, the river connecting lakes. So our river full of lakes, that is Saraswati. Another is Sara. Sara means flow. So it's a something like a apaya, where the flow of water is called apaya or river, generic term. So Saraswati also is a flow of no, it's a flowing river or Sara. Like Sara means move ahead or move forward, etc. So again, the word sra, or which can interpret as flow or interpret as movement, is there both in Sarayu as well as in Saraswati. So that way, etymologically also there is a closeness to the word Sarayu and Saraswati. So this is what I put forward as a thesis inside the book Rivers of Rigveda, the most ancestral river, Sarayu River, where the most ancestral Ikshwaku king, that is Ikshwaku himself, lived, is this Saraswati River. And even this is not just ending here. As far as archaeology is concerned, if you look at in archaeology, you see the most ancient cities, settlements, everything is on the banks of Saraswati. So because there are later traditions, for example, Ramayana gives a later tradition, which says that Manu founded the Ayodhya city, so etc. But this Ramayana is very late, right? Compared to Rigveda, Ramayana is a younger text. So in the younger text, if there is a data which is conflicting with an older text, we have to take the data in the older text. And this is also supported by archaeology. If you look at in archaeology, you don't see anything. See, for example, along Saraswati, you get Birana and so many other cities which are 8,000 BC, 7,000 BC range. Whereas in Ghagra, Sarayu River, tributary of Ganga in Uttar Pradesh, and the Ayodhya city, the oldest current archaeological record is around 1700 BC, close to 1700 BC. But maybe if you dig deeper, it may be increasing. It will go 100 or 200 years deeper into the past. So maximum you can get 2000 BC there, because we cannot currently postulate a large amount of variation in the archaeological like antiquity. Like it typically 200 plus or minus is what the archaeology range is about. So that kind of accuracy we have. So when the archaeologist says 1700 BC, we can maximum give an accuracy error of 200 years. So it can be 2000 BC to 1600 BC. So that is the kind of range that you get for in archaeology for city of Ayodhya. And so when Ramayana says Manu founded the city of Ayodhya, so basically they are just honoring their ancient ancestor, because we don't have anything in archaeology to support that Manu, or the oldest figure Manu, is there in Ayodhya. So how I resolve this anomaly is I consider the migration, because this is playing out everywhere. Some of they might have an ancient city called Ayodhya along the river Saraswati, and when people migrated from Saraswati to both direction, eastward and westward, one set of people migrated eastward, crossing Yamuna, Ganga, Gomati, and reached the one tributary of Ganga, and named it as Sarayu River. That is the Khakra River in Uttar Pradesh, and established another Ayodhya, a new Ayodhya in the Uttar Pradesh, and that is the city of Ayodhya that you have in Uttar Pradesh. And in my estimate, this city was ruled by grandfather of Rama, like Acha, and his father Dasharatha, and he himself. That is, Rama himself ruled it. So that means you can have a lower and exactly like matching with the archaeology. You can that kind of dates can be in 1900 BC, because our date for Sri Rama is 1940 BC, falling within the range of archaeological supported dates in the Ayodhya city. And similarly, there is a westward movement of Ikshwakus to the westward, and these westward moving Ikshwakus similarly migrated, crossing the different rivers, like Satluj River, and then the Parushni River, that is Ravi River, then Chenab River, and finally Vitasta River. They crossed Vitasta River and then established themselves and called a tributary of Sindhu River as Sarayu River. This is my basic theory. So maybe now I can show the diagrams so that it becomes clear. So this entire theory, you can all this you can look at in my book, where the rivers of Ṛgveda, the chapter Sarayu, which is very large, the largest chapter in the book. So this is overall I am defining, like, see the Manu, again, Manu is also indicated as sea people, like, because there is a mention of floods, etc. So again, another theory is there is a ambient migrations that is happening, like even before the Ṛgvedic civilization emerged. There was migration of people from this particular southern sea. Of course, this sea of this particular Gujarat, Ran of Kutch was a sea that time. So this is called the southern sea. And from the point of view of the Harappans, this is called the Southern Sea. So the most ancient people migrated from this sea coast. There was floods in this region. So whatever coastal cities got submerged into the ocean whenever there was a floods in this region. And the Manu, there is a group of people. We call them the Manu people because there will be multiple generations of people. So they moved like this. And this particular channel, this particular river, they called it Sarayu River. So because there are two people, right? The Ikshwagos named it Sarayu, and the Aila Bharata Kuru lineage, that is the Ila's descendants call them Saraswati, Ikshwagos descendants call them Sarayu. So same river, they called by either by the name Sarayu or Saraswati. But Ikshwagos, the favorite name is Sarayu River. So that same river Sarayu, which is also Saraswati. So along that river, they migrated like this. And from this particular point, when they reached this particular point, it was somewhere in the middle Ṛgvedic period. And somewhere in that same period, the river flow started declining in the middle region. There is Saraswati River, which is, I mean, also the ancestral Sarayu River. It started drying up in the middle period, actually. So that, and this drying up started from the southern point. So from this, around this point, so this point, the people, this is the Trikshi people. So they, as the river dried up, they slowly migrated to the place where the river is flowing, and finally they abandoned it and moved like this. And this is a river. This is a river which is a tributary of Sindhu, and this river they called it as a Sarayu River. So this particular, I told you before that there is a geographical range in which the Sarayu River need to be found out very in the vicinity of the Sindhu River. Now comes to the actual identification of the river Sarayu. That is because I searched in in this entire region along the river Sindhu, which is the river which have the name which is matching with the river Sarayu. So there is one important point. The river Sarayu is the Avestan pronunciation of the river Sarayu is Harayu. Harayu. That is the pronunciation of the river. Just like Saraswati, they call it Harahvaiti. So the river Sarayu, in the Western pronunciation, it is Harayu. And you have a tributary of Sindhu called Haro. And Haro is a short form of the Avestan name of the river Sarayu. That is Harayu. So Sarayu, the Sanskrit name Sarayu, transformed into Harayu in Avestan. And as time passed, the Harayu river name became Haro. And that Haro river is flowing, then this Sarayu river I have identified as Haro river. And Haro river flows as an eastern tributary of river the river Sindhu. And once I identified the Haro river as Sarayu, all the other data points match exactly, perfectly well. Because there is another verse, 10th Mandala Sukta, where it talks about 3 rivers. That is Saraswati, Sarayu, and Sindhu. 3 rivers are mentioned in sequence. And you know Nadi Sukta. So Nadi Sukta, the in the sequence, the easternmost river Ganga is mentioned first, then Yamuna, then Drishadwa is a tributary, so it is not counted. So Ganga, Yamuna, Saraswati, Sududri, Parushni, Asikni, Marudvrita, Vitasta, Arjikiya. So like that, the Nadi Sukta, we know the sequence. Easternmost river first, the middle rivers in the middle, and the westernmost river in the last. So same sequence is followed by Gaya Plata, who have 3 rivers are mentioned in sequence: Saraswati, Sarayu, and Sindhu. Sindhu river is here. Like this is, I think I have not shown it, but Sindhu is the main river in which Sarayu is flowing. So there also the sequence become correct because The Gaya Plata sequence means that the river Saraswati has to be between in the middle of Saraswati and Sindhu. So that condition also means satisfied by identification of the Sarayu River as eastern tributary of Sindhu. Because when Sarayu is an eastern tributary of Sindhu, naturally Sarayu will be in between Sindhu and Saraswati. See, Saraswati in the east, then comes Sarayu, then comes Sindhu. So that sequence becomes correct. Now, this is not the only thing that is getting aligned. Another point is in the migratory sequence, like Ṛgvedic migratory sequence, you have the easternmost rivers identified or talked about in the earliest mandala, like sixth mandala, Ganga is there. And in the third mandala, you have this Sududri. Sixth mandala, you have Ganga there. Then in the third mandala, Vishwamitra crossing Vibhas Sududri. And then in the seventh mandala, Parishni is there. And like that it goes now. Sikni, Vidas, and in the fourth mandala, this Vidastas, Vibali is there. And the fourth mandala, you have first time mentioned of the Sindhu River. All these things happen. So fourth mandala, by the fourth mandala, they are reached up to Sindhu River. And in the fourth mandala itself, we have the first reference, oldest reference of Sarayu is there. So that river sequence matches very well because Sarayu is mentioned for the first time in the fourth mandala, and Sindhu also mentioned for the first time in the fourth mandala. So you can see this is more clearer, right? Sarayu and Sindhu, because these two rivers are close by. So the closeness of the river Sarayu with Sindhu is established because they are all mentioned in the fourth mandala. And another important point, which eliminate the identification of Sarayu with Afghanistan, is that all the western tributaries of Sindhu, western tributary means Kupha. This Kupha is there. Kupha, anything which is western tributary of Sindhu, like Kupha, Gomati, that is Gomal, Mahatnu. Maybe I'll see here. Here it is. Gomati, Mahatnu, Prumu, and Kupha. All these western side rivers of Sindhu are identified in the next mandala. That is the fifth mandala, actually. So this is a very interesting, like the river migration sequence, very clearly telling you the actual crossing of the Sindhu River happens in the somewhere in the fifth mandala period. So till the fourth mandala, they were playing mostly around in the eastern side of the Sindhu River. And in the fourth mandala, we get rivers Sarayu, that is the Sarayu River and the Sindhu River, all these are mentioned in the fourth mandala. That means familiarity started emerging in the fourth mandala. Crossing of the river and exploring the western side of the river happened in the subsequent mandalas. So that river crossing, the sequence comes perfectly correct. And this also means that only in the sixth mandala, only in the fifth mandala, that is subsequent to the fourth, you have an actual crossing of the river Sindhu and exploration of the western side of Sindhu River. So there is no question of identifying Sarayu with Afghan River, because Sarayu's first reference of Sarayu is in the earlier mandala, that is in the fourth mandala. So in the fourth mandala, the Ṛgvedic horizon is only up to the east of Sindhu, and when the Ṛgvedic horizon is in up to the east of Sindhu, exactly in that period, Sarayu is mentioned for the first time. So that very clearly, so there are multiple, like it is like the intersection of multiple information, multiple data points, because of so many different reasons, not just one reason, two reasons, three reasons, maybe 4 or 5 different reasons, you have to identify Sarayu as the Haro River, because the names match. Sarayu's Afghan name, Sarayu's Western name is Harayu, which is what Haro River is all about. That's a direct identification. Second, it has to be an eastern river of Sindhu, because this Haro River is first mentioned when the Ṛgvedic people are only familiar with the eastern side of Sindhu. That means it should be an eastern river. It cannot be a western river, because western side exploration happened in the subsequent mandala, that is in the fifth mandala. So it cannot be an Afghan river, because they have not yet crossed the Sindhu River to the western side. Then how can they be present in Afghanistan? So the Afghan identification completely is invalidated. And so it all tells you, multiple things. Sarayu River has to be a river closer to the river Sindhu. Sarayu River has to be in the an eastern to the east of the river Sindhu, because 10th mandala reference Gaya Plata very clearly locate the Sarayu between Saraswati and Sindhu. That means it is a river in between Saraswati and Sindhu, irrespective of what is the geographical size of it or whatever. It has to be between Sarayu and Sindhu. That condition is met. It has to be an eastern river. That condition is already met, which is a condition set because of the fact that when the first identification of Sarayu happened, Ṛgvedic people are only exploring up to the east of Sindhu river. And second, the last, because the river crossing and subsequent exploration of the western tributary of Sindhu, like Gomati, Mahatnu, Krumu, and other rivers, happened starting with the 5th mandala. Exactly. And because of that, this possibility of locating Sarayu in Afghanistan, like Harirudh, is impossible. And of course, the other very simple reason it is like a very minor reason, minor issue, that is, it is not the Uttar Pradesh river, because things are happening in the western side. The Avestan migration happened to the northwest, and the current Harayu, Sarayu as Harayu recorded into the Avestan text. And this is also the reason why none of our Mahabharata or Ramayana is talking about a western Sarayu, because they are focusing to the eastern side. Ramayana focus on to the Ayodhya, that is a new city established by Aja, Rama's grandfather Aja, in the eastern side on the tributary, Ganga tributary Sarayu. So Ramayana is not focusing on the western side. I mean, only one of their cousins Kaikayas are in the western side. Otherwise, they have no. The Ramayana poets, including Valmiki, have no business, no interest in the western side. The only interest is that Kaikeyi came from the western side, she was in the Kaikaya, which is in between this Chenab, that is Asikni river and Vitasta river. So that is the only reason. It's a minor reason why this Ramayana will look at the western side. Mahabharata also similar, like they are focusing on Kauravas and Pandavas, and their focus is on the Haryana and western Uttar Pradesh. Hastinapura in western Uttar Pradesh, Indraprastha in Haryana, that is in Delhi. So they are not focused much onto the western side. Of course, the Madra king Madri is coming from the Madra region, which is Sialkot, Sakala in Pakistan, and Shakuni and Gandhari are from the Gandhara region. But you can also see all their mostly Mahabharata described their activities in Hastinapur. What they are doing in Gandhara, that all the poets are not focusing. Neither Mahabharata Vyasa or any of the poets contributing to Mahabharata have any interest in the western side. So naturally, they don't know anything about the western Sarayu. But in the Ṛgveda, definitely, because the Ṛgveda focus is on the if you see, the entire Sindhu Saraswati region is in full focus of Ṛgveda. So naturally, they know about this Ṛgvedic Sarayu, which is an eastern tributary of Sindhu. So this is a kind of I would say introductory on the river Sarayu, and then maybe I will also explain some of the historical examples of river Sarayu, or how the river Sarayu has interfered with the Ṛgvedic history. Like, for example, I mentioned about the Samvarana Bharata migrating from Vara Prithviya because of the conflict between Sudas. So he has moved like this, and then he crossed the Vipas Sududri, and this Parushni, and then he settled for some time in the Sikni river, Chandrabhaga, and then the 10 kings allied with him, including the Kavi Chayamana, the Parthian or Anava king. And there are 10 kings along with the Samvarana Bharata, who is mentioned as Kuru, fought with the Sudas. But in that battle, the 10 kings failed. They got defeated. So the Samvarana moved further northwestward. And as per Mahabharata, they lived in the vicinity of the Sindhu river. That much is Mahabharata capturing. But Mahabharata never mentioned the river Sarayu here, because it is not familiar with the small tributaries of Sindhu. But in the Ṛgveda, the river Sarayu is very much mentioned. And we know that when they say Samvarana is in the Sindhu region, it is also the Sarayu region. That is why we call that there was an alliance of Samvarana with the Trikshis, that is the Western Ikshvakus. And because of that, then this alliance is it is represented in the Mahabharata as a marriage between Samvarana and Tapati Vaivaswati. So Vaivaswati is a kind of a surname of Tapati. Of course, the poets say that she is Suryaputri, etc. But it is an indication that she is a Ikshvaku princess, because Surya Vamsha or Surya is associated with Ikshvakus. The Suryaputri, Tapati is a Suryaputri, or the son of Surya, daughter of sun god Surya or Vivaswata. Means that she is an Ikshvaku princess. And Samvarana married the Ikshvaku princess, means there is an alliance of Ikshvakus and Samvarana. And the region where Samvarana went is this particular Sindhu region, right? And it is also the region of the Sarayu. So Sarayu merges with the Sindhu in the same region, where the Sindhu descends from the mountains. This is very clearly mentioned in the Mahabharata, except the Sarayu part. The Sarayu part comes because in the geographically, the Haro River is joining in the same place where Samvarana went. And the Sarayu also indicate the Trikshis or the Western Ikshvakus, Tapati Vaivaswati, all the people, etc., is represented by the Sarayu. So that is why I use the terminology of Sindhu Sarayu region to the region where Samvarana got asylum. In the Mahabharata, it is mentioned as a Sindhu region, but it actually is Sindhu Sarayu region. And the Sarayu also represent the Trikshi Ikshvakus, like Trasadasya and Purukutsa, who give asylum to this Samvarana Bharata here. And because of which the marriage alliance take place between, because they are living together, the one party is giving asylum to the other party. That is a Western Ikshvaku branch is giving asylum to a descendant of Aila. Descendant of Ila. The descendant of Ikshvaku is giving some asylum to a descendant of Ila. Samvarana is definitely a descendant of Ila, because from Ila came the Puruvamsha, from Puruvamsha came Bharatavamsha, and Samvarana represents the third branch of the Bharatavamsha. So Bharatavamsha king, who is also called as Puru, because he is also a Puru, because Bharatas are all Purus, getting asylum in the Sindhu Sarayu region by kings like Trasadasya and Purukutsa. As a result of which, there is a marriage taking place. Samvarana marries Tapati Vaivaswati, and Western Ikshvaku or Trikshi princess. And from their marriage, there will be like so many descendants coming in. One of the descendants who lived after 1,000 years, that is very important, because Mahabharata mentioned that the chronological gap between King Kuru and Samvarana is 1,000 years. So after Samvarana, 1,000 years after Samvarana, one king Kuru, he returned back to the Vara Prathavya and renamed it as Kurukshetra. So there is a very important history of the Bharatavarsha. Ancient prehistory of Bharatavarsha is revealed. It is encrypted in the Ṛgveda, but it has to be decoded. So I have decoded it. And that is the entire prehistory about the third branch of the Bharatas, who got defeated by the first branch, that is Suda's branch of the Bharatas, that is Trutsus, that is later Pranchala. And because of which this third branch has to completely migrate. He has to flee. He has to flee and went westward. He tried one attempt he made to reclaim his territory in the Dasharajana battle, but again that failed. And along with the Anavas, his allies, he went further westwards. He got an asylum in an Ikshvaku territory, that is along the Sarayu and Sindhu river. And he married the Ikshvaku princess Tapati Vaivaswati. And this produced a new lineage, that is an Ikshvaku and Ayala blended lineage. First time in the maybe not first time, but at least first time recorded in the prehistory. There was an alliance or blending of Ikshvaku lineage and the Ayala lineage. Basically, the Ikshvaku lineage and the Bharata, third branch of the Bharata lineage. As a result of it, a new lineage is emerged, and that is the Kuru lineage. And the Kuru king there is a gap mentioned of 1,000 years, because the Ṛgvedic, Mahabharata poet mentioned that after the Samvarana and Tapati Vaivaswati married, Kuru returned to his ancestral territory after 1,000 years. And the poet, of course, mentioned that Kuru was a son of Samvarana, but this is a kind of a typical trick played by the Mahabharata poet, because sometimes descendants are treated as sons. But in Rigveda, it is because Rigveda never say the Sudas is a son of Devadasa. Or no, it always anticipates some intermediate kings in between. So, for example, Sudas Paijavana is a surname of Sudas. So, doesn't mean that Sudas is a direct son of Pijavana. There could be multiple descendants in between Pijavana and Sudas, and still Sudas is called Sudas Paijavana. Similarly, Vyasa Vasishta. Vyasa is not mentioned, is a son of Vasishta, but he is a descendant of Vasishta. So that clarity mostly in the Rigveda it is there, but sometimes in the Mahabharata, because to elevate some personalities, instead of calling him a descendant, they will call them a son. So Kuru is mentioned as a son, but it is just to be treated as poetic, but because there is a 1,000-year gap mentioned between Samvarna and Kuru returning back to Varaprithvi and renaming it as Kurukshetra. So this 1,000-year gap is also very important because I used it to date the Dasharajna battle. Because if Kurukshetra battle is dated to 1793 BC based on Ashok Bhatnagar's astronomy dating and Sanjay Manjul's range of Kurukshetra between 1800 BC and 1700 BC based on archaeological studies. If you treat it as a sheet anchor of Kurukshetra war 1793 BC, then Parikshit is born 1 year after Kurukshetra war. So Parikshit's birth is closely associated with the Kurukshetra war date. 1793 BC is Kurukshetra date. 1792 BC becomes birth date of Parikshit. Once you have got the date of Parikshit, you can back calculate the date of birth of Abhimanyu, and date of birth of Arjuna, date of birth of Pandu, date of birth of Vichitravirya, even Vyasa also, and then date of birth of Shantanu also you get. And Shantanu, we know Shantanu and Rama were contemporary to each other and also contemporary to 10th Mandala, and I have given a date of around 1940 BC to the birth of both Rama and Shantanu. And from Shantanu to, there is his father Pradibha is there. After that, what is the ancestry is not very clear, but Kuru is somewhat in the fourth generation earlier than, around fourth or fifth generation earlier than Shantanu. That is only a small gap. That is, if Pradibha is given a date, 100 years before that, Kuru lived actually. So these are all like Shantanu, Pradibha, and even Kuru also late Ṛgvedic kings. They lived in the late Ṛgvedic period. Even Rama also contemporary to Shantanu in late Ṛgvedic period. Once you get the date of Kuru, which is 100 years ahead of the Pradibha's date, because there are 4 or 5 generations between Pradibha and Kuru, you got the date of King Kuru. And you know when King Kuru returned to Varaprithvi and renamed it as Kurukshetra. And since you have an equation that the 1,000-year gap between Samvarna and Kuru, just add 1,000 years, you get the date of birth of Samvarna, and Samvarna being a kind of enemy of Sudas, you get the date of birth of Sudas, and you can date the Kurukshetra war. And you know what is the strangest thing I have seen is this particular date of Sudas and Samvarna and the Dasharajna battle falls in the 3000 BC, 3000 to 2200 BC range, which many of the Kurukshetra war researchers say that it is the date of Kurukshetra war, but actually it is the Dasharajna battle date. So 3000 BC to 3200 BC, if you consider it as the date of date range for Dasharajna battle, entire history of prehistory of Bharatavarsha aligns perfectly well, very strong, like any kind of prehistory, like the entire prehistory, Ṛgvedic prehistory from the early Ṛgvedic period up to Kurukshetra war becomes very solid and strong. Like as strong as our Chandragupta Maurya dynasty kind of the history. So from Chandragupta dynasty onwards, Maurya dynasty onwards to the subsequent Sungas and Guptas, there are no ambiguous, things are all very streamlined. Of course, there is some kind of chronology revision, but at least kings, everything fall in proper sequence and there is a proper history for Bharatavarsha. And I am able to extend that to Kurukshetra war date, like I'm able to bring the like Sri Rama and the Pandavas, even Sudas, all part of the correct chronology, historical chronology, and making them part as treated as real historical people, real historical personalities, without any kind of conflict with archaeology. Because I have to say that, because even many other researchers bring with all the date for if you look at some exaggerated chronology of Nilesh Shock, you can see they say Ṛgveda happened in 20,000 BC, etc. Then you have to date this Dacharajana battle in Ice Age, etc., where there is no evidence for chariots or any kind of technology evolution, everything happening. And of course, nothing is excavated in the archaeology. Like some people date Ramayana 5114 BC, Sarojabala, etc., based on some rejected verses in the Ramayana, critical edition. Again, 5114 BC, you don't see anything in archaeology in the Ayodhya city, right? But my date, 1940 BC for Sri Rama is very much within the range of archaeology in Ayodhya city in the Uttar Pradesh. And I give explanation why the archaeological dates for Ayodhya is lesser than the same archaeology dates in Saraswati. So many puzzles in archaeology also I am resolving with this particular research on Sarayu River. So I think more or less I covered it. This chapter of Sarayu is a little bigger chapter. So maybe this and maybe subsequent next session also we may speak about it. But this is very much about it. And I will look at for some questions and then we conclude it.